top 10 matchup between some Tigers. Yes, between number 9 LSU and Brian Kelly and number 4 Clemson and Dabble. Oh boy, we'll be waiting for this one. This matchup, it all starts with the two quarterbacks that have Heisman hopes swirling around their campuses there. Garrett Nussmeier stepping in his first full season under Brian Kelly as that QB1. On the opposite side, Cade Klubnik looking to be what he was. Remember that former 5-star, maybe to lead them to a championship. But take a look at it. There is some history between these two squads here, dating back to 1958, that first one, the Sugar Bowl, 7-0 for the Tigers here, and also winning the Peach Bowl in '96. And then 2019, the final bragging rights there for LSU, that 42-25 win, the CFP title game. Joe Burrow and the crew still got bragging rights when it comes to them against the Tigers. And Clemson, of course. All right, for more of the showdown there in the Death Valley there, join us for the conversation. We got both sides here, Austin Hannon and Glen West, tapping in before we get to Saturday. And Glen, I'll start with you because LSU, there seems to be some rumbling about a narrative 1-0. Shed some light on that for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's no surprise to people in Baton Rouge, but LSU has not won has not won an opener since that championship season back in 2019 that coincidentally ended with a win over Clemson in the championship game. So it's been 5 years of straight losses there for LSU, and so a big part of this offseason for Brian Kelly and for these players has been really hammering home getting off to a fast start. And you really can't walk 5 feet into the LSU football ops building without seeing some kind of reminder, 1-0 reminder about this Clemson game and how important it is for LSU to get off to the kind of fast start that's needed to make a legitimate playoff run. So this is as big of a game as I can remember in recent memory for LSU to get off to a really clean start here against a top 5 opponent on the road, a true test for this team that they have put together that they feel really confident in, that can make this kind of deep playoff run. So this has got serious implications about this era of LSU football and what that means for the program going forward.
Yeah, Brian Kelly has mentioned, of course, when it comes to winning championships, that's what he wanted to do when he came to LSU. But also for Clemson, they have a few of those not too long ago. But Cade looking to maybe jump into that conversation, one of the top QBs in the game so far. What have you seen from him leading up to this game to give you the nod to say, you know what, he's up there?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, actually, just what Glenn was talking about season openers. This is Klubnik's 3rd year as the starting quarterback, and his first 2, he lost the season opener. Going back to 2 years ago, his first start of the season at Duke, they got blasted in a bad game that they played there, full of turnovers. And, of course, last year in Atlanta, things didn't go so well against Georgia and Kirby Smart in week 1. So both teams kind of dealing with the same thing, and I think both teams kind of are both relying on their quarterback as well. So 2 interesting programs with very similar roster buildup, I think, this year. And both quarterbacks, like you said, and like we've been talking about all week on both of our sites. I mean, it's going to come down to these 2 guys. And Cade Klubnik, first year as a starter, he came in as a 5-star, and everybody expected him to be Trevor Lawrence, expected him to be Deshaun Watson. And things didn't go so well. And in his first 28 starts, he's 19-9. Not a great record if you're thinking about this Clemson starting quarterbacks and the guys that have come behind him and what their record was early in their career. So he's kind of had to battle through some adversity. But last year was that giant step forward that everybody wanted to see. He had 46 touchdowns, I think just 4 turnovers. So taking that step forward, being able to get the ball in the playmaker's hands instead of making poor decisions with the football was big for him. And I think, Klubnik, too, both quarterbacks in this game, it's, the winner of this game, the guy that leaves the field as the winning quarterback in this game is going to start probably feeling pretty good. Not that either quarterback would do this, but they're probably going to be feeling pretty good about their chances of advancing to New York City as a Heisman finalist late in the season. So I think this game sets the tempo for both teams all season, and neither team wants to start 0-1 for Clemson. It'd be the 3rd straight year. For LSU, it obviously the 6th straight year. So I think both quarterbacks and both teams are kind of looking to get that first foot off to a good start here.
We all know it comes to the quarterbacks, but then the defense as well. And Glenn, my question to you, when you talk about the defense that we've seen the past couple of years since Kelly's been there, it has not been up to par. Will they travel well this year?
That's the hope. That's the reason that they went out and spent more resources than they ever have in the transfer portal this last year. They signed 18 players a good majority of those players are going to be on the defensive side of the ball. You're going to have a lot of veteran experience out of the Power Four conferences. You've got guys like Jack Pyburn, Monsieur Delane at cornerback. You've got Patrick Payton from FSU. You've got several pieces here. AJ Halsey from Houston. Several pieces on this defense that you're going to see from LSU have multiple years of starting experience under their belt, and that's something that they've really need. They needed to fuse, they need infusion of some veteran talent, some leadership into that defensive side of the ball. Blake Baker is a guy who really wants to be aggressive with this defense, so they made sure that they went out and got smart football players, guys that are going to lead the right way and do things that can maybe be a little bit more hectic, create a little bit more havoc on opposing offenses, and that's certainly going to be the goal week one against the Clemson offense that's returning much of its starting lineup.
So defense is a key as well when it comes to LSU. For Clemson, Austin, I mean, realistic expectations here. Is it just the conference title, the ACC? Are we thinking CFP or Natty? What has been some rumblings of where they really see themselves this year?
Yeah, I think the overall feeling from the fan base is just kind of they're done with just winning the ACC, which Dabo Swinney loves talking about it, and they've made it a point to win it every year, and they've been very successful at doing that. But when you look at this sport as a whole, it's winning the ACC for Clemson's not really. I don't think that's really the goal or the the benchmark anymore. I think they know that they've competed at the highest level. They've beaten a Nick Saban coach team twice in the past in a national title game. Obviously, they played in another one against LSU a couple years ago. They've been to that spot, and I think that the fans are kind of, and not just the fans, but I think the program. And then you think about a lot of the veterans that are on this team. We've talked so much this offseason about all the returning production and how it's the best in the country. But all these guys are coming back for their third and fourth seasons to reach that point, not just to win another ACC title, because they've all done that already. So I think it's very interesting that LSU, obviously, like a lot of teams, attacks the portal very, very heavy, and they've restocked their lineup with a lot of those guys. But it's kind of going to be an interesting talking point to Clemson's kind of opposite, where they're just kind of relying on a bunch of juniors and seniors that they recruited as high schoolers years ago that have developed over the course of their college career. So not always a referendum game. People always try to do that when comparing Swinney to other programs that like to use the portal. But I do think it will be interesting to see how their new lineup with all these new players that they've brought from the outside, how that kind of stacks up in terms of continuity in a week one game like this, especially on the road in a place like Death Valley.
It is just week one, but if we're looking ahead in terms of the odds here, Clemson is favored 12-1 to win it all, and then we find the Tigers of LSU 13-1 when it comes to that. But of course, we're not talking about that. We have one game to worry about here, and Glenn, I'll let you go first. Who wins this one on Saturday?
Yeah, I've got Clemson by a hair here. I mean, it's just so hard after 5 straight years of watching LSU just not be able to quite muster up enough offense to get over the hump here in week one. And I think this year it's going to be really difficult because of I don't have many long-term concerns about this offensive line or this offense as a whole. I think it can be one of the most explosive in the country. But there are some short-term things that LSU's trying to figure out right now with their offensive line. And when you're going head-to-head with guys like Peter Woods and TJ Parker, Will Helt, that's going to be thrown right into the fire there. And so I do think that both defenses have pretty good games. I actually have this as a lower scoring game. I think 20-17 is kind of around that range where I have the home team kind of keeping that win in Clemson's Death Valley. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I think there's like I said a lot of good on the horizon for this LSU team, but they're running into a pretty difficult heavyweight here in week one, and I've got the home team being able to defend their field.
Yeah, I'm right there with them. I think the home field advantage is huge. Obviously, the game being 3.5 or 4 point spread. I mean, that tells you that Vegas thinks the swing really is on that home field advantage. So I wrote yesterday, I really do like this LSU team this year. And I'm very high on Clemson as well. I think we're looking at 2 top 5 teams. When both have played 12 regular season games in December, I think both teams will be in the college football playoff. So I think this is a game that maybe we see, a little bit of a foreshadowing of what's to come. I mean, we could obviously, with the bigger bracket this year and then in years past, I mean, these two teams could see each other again down the road. I like Clemson, like what Glenn said. I think that defensive line against some of that inexperience for LSU on the offensive line is going to be a big deal. I think Clemson would like to get 3 or 4 sacks, force some punts early in the game, get the crowd into it. And then really, I think both of these quarterbacks, obviously Klubnik a little bit ahead in his development, a year ahead with an extra year starting. But I think this year with Nussmeier, it's going to be what can we see that Klubnik did last year? Whereas Nussmeier was a little bit turnover prone earlier in his career. Can he take that step forward like Klubnik did and kind of protect the football and keep his offense on the field? And then red zone. Both of these teams really struggled in the red zone last year on offense. So I think really turning 3 points into 7 points is going to be the difference in this game. And Vegas obviously agrees with that 4-point spread.
I see, Austin. Okay, smart man, going with Clemson. And then, Glenn, you're traveling to Death Valley, so smart man, you don't want to get beat up on your way down there. Also going with Clemson. But that brings me to this. Who has the real Death Valley? Glenn, I'll let you go first between the two schools.
Listen, I think LSU fans would mutiny if I said anything other than LSU. And so I do want to experience the Clemson Death Valley. Like, I think that's a real thing. I think both sides have to experience both. But LSU for right now has the latest win, so I'm going to stick with LSU, and we'll see kind of what transpires on Saturday.
Yeah, I think Sweeney's response, someone brought this up in one of his first press conferences of the fall, and he kind of said, well, you can let history do the talking. And I think he was pointing back to, Clemson's had the title for longer, and it really started at LSU with Death Valley and not actually Death Valley, and then it actually changed years later. So I think Clemson fans, they like to hold on to that. But, as a guy that's fortunately been to both of these stadiums, they're both incredible atmospheres full of, some of the most passionate fans in this sport. And so I think this weekend, and of course next year's second part of the home and home will be no different.
Fellas, we'll be out on Saturday. Appreciate your time, Austin and Glenn, showing us everything when it comes to the Tigers for LSU and Clemson. Can't wait to see it. Don't forget, of course, the conversation continues here on HQ. But Saturday, here's the show that everybody has been waiting for. They're back. College football pregame. Emily Proud holding down the fort there with the fellas. Alabama and Florida State. They will be boots on the ground down there in Tallahassee starting at 9 a.m. Eastern. Can't wait to see it. Football is back with week 1.